Today, let us discuss Thomas More's Utopia. Not Utopia, Utopia. Thomas More's Utopia, Sir Thomas More. Sir Thomas More, his period was between 1478 and 1532. Sir Thomas More was a leading prose writer of the 16th century. He had his education and later at Lincoln's Inn. Lincoln's Inn means law college. Lincoln's Inn. At Lincoln's Inn, he met Erasmus, the famous Dutch scholar and religious reformer, who later became his great friend. Erasmus later became his great intimate friend. At 26, he became an MP and opposed King Henry VII openly. At the age of 26, he became an MP and he vehemently opposed King Henry VII openly. He earned his displeasure of the king and was later imprisoned. When Henry VIII ascended the throne, More wrote a long poem praising him. Thomas More wrote a long poem praising him. This removed all the obstacles that hindered his public life. He was first appointed Under Sheriff of London. Under Sheriff, Deputy Sheriff of London. One of the highest posts. He was appointed Under Sheriff of London by King Henry VIII. He was later sent on diplomatic mission to Antwerp. Diplomatic mission, he was sent as an ambassador to Antwerp. The book Utopia was written during this visit to Antwerp. His entrance into public life was a turning point in his career. Honors were showered upon him one after the another. He was knighted, that means he got knighthood. Thus he became Sir Thomas More. Made Under Treasurer, appointed Speaker of the House of Commons, and finally made Lord Chancellor of England. Lord Chancellor means the head of the judiciary of Britain. The head of the judiciary of Britain. And he was able to attend the House of Lords in the capacity of legislative things as well as judiciary affairs. So thus he became Lord Chancellor, something equal to our Chief Justice, Lord Chancellor of England. The mildest and the kindest of men later became the harshest of fanatics. What happened is really very much interesting. The mildest and kindest of men later became the harshest, the roughest of fanatics. In theory, he advocated religious tolerance, but in practice, he was stern and uncompromising. As Lord Chancellor, he ordered the execution of many on charges of heresy. Heresy means the belief contrary to established religious principles or religious theories. If heresy means belief contrary to orthodox beliefs. Heresy, Heresy. Heresy. Soon differences cropped up between the king and More. However, King Henry VIII's attempts to divorce Catherine, his wife Catherine. This led to Thomas More's imprisonment and he was beheaded. Cut off his head. He was beheaded 15 months later. 15 months after he was beheaded or executed. When did nature mold a temper more gentle, endearing, and happy than the temper of Thomas More? Asked Erasmus, one of the messiahs of European humanism. He was one of the messiahs. Messiahs means leaders. Actually, Messiah is being sent by God to save the humanity, save the Hebrews in the Holy Bible. Here, Messiah means leader. So, asked Erasmus, one of the messiahs of European humanism. Erasmus was one of the messiahs of European humanism. The idea of writing Utopia was born soon after the first meeting between Erasmus and More. You must remember T.S. Eliot wrote the celebrated work Wasteland when Ezra Pound, his friend Ezra Pound, asked him to write about a poem on the spectacle of Europe committing suicide. Similarly, Thomas More wrote Utopia at the suggestion of his friend Erasmus. Thomas More wrote Utopia at the suggestion of his friend Erasmus. More's study at Oxford had brought him into contact with the new intellectual movement raging over Europe. With Erasmus' appearance on the scene, the keen observer and adventurous dreamer was changed into one of the best European humanists. No wonder Utopia has been hailed as a masterpiece of English humanism. Utopia has been greeted or hailed or considered or reckoned as a masterpiece, a great work on English humanism. More was as much a humanitarian as a humanist. Thomas More was as much a humanitarian as a humanist. His hatred for war is like sieves, Jonathan Sieves. He calls soldiers manslayers, killers of man, manslayers. He praises communism and prevents man from acquiring any property. Thomas More talks of religious tolerance in Utopia. He does not favor giving social status to any particular religion. He does not favor giving social status to any particular religion. More's book Utopia is well constructed. It is well knit book. It has two sections. Utopia has two sections. The first book or the first section is in the form of a framework. In the first book or in the first section, Peter Gales introduces a great traveler named Hythloday to More at Antwerp. The three then go to More's place of stay. The three means Hythloday, Peter Gales and Sir Thomas More go to the room of Sir Thomas More. They go to More's place of stay. Raphael Hythloday talks of his adventures and how he came across many interesting communities. Hythloday talks about his adventures and how he came across many interesting communities. Hythloday mentions a country called Utopia whenever he discusses anything important. Whenever the man discusses anything important, he mentions a country called Utopia. This arouses More's curiosity. This mention of a particular country arouses More's curiosity. At his request, Hythloday agrees to give a lengthy description of the country and its people. This account or this description forms the second book or the second section. So this is the book Utopia. Utopia is introduced as a crescent-shaped island. Utopia is introduced as a crescent-shaped island situated south of the equator. South of the equator. It was founded by the king Utopus. There are 54 cities in all. In the island or in the country Utopia, there are 54 cities. There are 54 cities in all. The language, customs and laws are the same in all the cities. Amarot, A-M-O-U-R-O-T, Amarot, which is centrally located, which is centrally situated, is the capital city of Utopia, Amarot. The smallest political unit of Utopia is the family. 10 families select one member to the island council. 10 families together elect one member to the island council. The island council elects the ruler by secret ballot. The island council elect or select the ruler by secret ballot. He is designated as the prince. He is called officially, the prince. The prince is elected generally for life. He is the prince till his death. But he can be deposed. He can be dethroned. He can be deposed if he proves to be a tyrant. The council meets every 3 days. The council meets every 3 days at the capital to discuss matters. No decision is taken on the first day. This is to avoid hasty decisions. So no decision is taken on the first day of discussion. This is to avoid hasty decisions. The cities of Utopia are generally constructed on the same plan and are almost of the same size. The houses are built in rows. In Utopia, in 54 cities, the houses are built in row and are of 3 stories. The houses are of 3 stories. 3-storied buildings. 3 stories. 3-storied houses are not locked or bolted because nothing belongs to the individuals. Utopia has a communist society. Everyone needs to work for 6 hours a day. 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon. All Utopians wear the same dress, same type of dress, same type of clothes. Every family makes its dress which is made of leather. The dress worn by the Utopians is made of leather. Though the people of Utopia dress alike, the garments of men and women, married and the unmarried, slightly differ. Though they dress alike, the garments of men and women, married and unmarried, slightly differ. The prince too, the ruler, prince too wears the same clothes. The only addition to his clothes is a sheaf of corn, which is an emblem of prosperity. He wears a sheaf of corn in his clothes, which is a symbol of, which is an emblem of prosperity. Social justice in Utopia is very different. There is true poetic justice in the nation. There is true poetic justice in the nation. Evil is punished and virtue is rewarded. Those who commit theft and adultery, prostitution, adultery are made slaves. Those who commit theft and adultery are made slaves. Good men are honored by erecting their statues in the public places during their lifetime. Very interesting thing, good men are honored by erecting their statues in the public places during their lifetime. Gold and silver are considered base metals, very low metals, priceless metals. Gold and silver are considered base metals in Utopia. People are only condemned for these things. This is because Utopians believe that God leaves good things on the surface of the earth, not in the hidden areas of the earth. People believe that God leaves good things on the surface of the earth. The Utopians make use of earthenware for household purposes. The Utopians made earthenware, means utensils made of earth. Gold and silver plates are used by slaves, and chains and fetters made of these metals, gold and silver, are used to bind slaves. Physicians are held in high esteem. People gave high respect to the physicians in Utopia. They are held in high esteem. The sick are cared for in the hospitals that are well equipped. The hospitals in Utopia are well equipped. Suicide is disapproved. But mercy killing is allowed. A person suffers from incurable disease. If a person suffers from incurable and serious disease, mercy killing is allowed in Utopia. Then marriages are not compulsory in Utopia. Those who marry are considered wise. Those who remain unmarried are considered holy. The age limit fixed for men to marry is 22, and for women 18. Partners are selected after careful consideration and examination. The boy and the girl see each other naked. The boy and the girl see each other naked. Utopians say that this practice is there in order to prevent people from hiding any kind of disability. Utopians say that this is to prevent anyone from hiding any deformity. Married couples have to be faithful to each other. Adultery is punished with slavery. Earlier we have found. Divorce is allowed by mutual consent. Waging war is considered to be beastly by the Utopians. Waging war is considered to be beastly, very cruel by the Utopians. Yet military training is given to people as a precaution. As a precaution, military training is given to people. There is no compulsory recruitment to the army. No person is forced to go to war because his cowardice will affect the morale of the other soldiers. The cowardly people are never forced to go to the battlefield or war because Utopians believe that the cowardice of such people will affect the morale of other soldiers. When soldiers proceed to the battlefield, their families accompany them. Families go with them. Thus, the soldier dies along with his wife and children. The war then does not leave behind widows and orphans. The war does not leave behind widows and orphans. Utopians believe in gods. They are believers in God, whom they call the Father of all. They call the God the Father of all. People are free to worship any god. However, atheism means disbelief in God. Atheism is not permitted in Utopia. Religious tolerance is practiced in the silent. And so, speaking ill of any religion is considered a sin. Speaking bad of any religion or ill of any religion is considered a sin in the silent. There is a reference in More's book to a Christian believer belittling other faiths. He is exiled from the country for religious intolerance. Utopians go to church on the first day and the last day of the month. They visit on the last day is meant for thanksgiving. The first day is meant to pray for a happy month and to invoke the blessings of God. Confession is made not before priests. Confession is made by the wife to the husband and the children before their parents. Women are eligible to become priests in Utopia. Women are eligible to become priests. Only persons of good character are selected priests. The priests are held in high esteem. They get, the men priests get the best women in the country as wives. The men priests get the best women in the country as their partners. If we turn to the life of Sir Thomas More after he wrote Utopia, we are in for a great shock. The man who spoke eloquently about religious tolerance did not put it into practice once he became the Lord Chancellor. When he reached the greatest position in the country, he sent many promising intellectuals to the stake. Means he killed many he ordered the killing of so many promising intellectuals. He sent many promising intellectuals to stake only because they disagreed with the official religious policy. Poetic justice was done in his case. He fell a victim to the religious intolerance. Later, this man who was responsible for the killing of so many promising intellectuals fell a victim to this religious intolerance that he had practiced. Leaving this fact aside, leaving this blemish in his character aside, More was a daring missionary. More was a daring, courageous philosopher. He was a 16th century thinker who was far ahead of his times. More was a 16th century thinker who was far ahead of his times. He thought of things 21st century would hesitate to implement. He thought of things that even 21st century would hesitate to implement. Ideas like having women priests and allowing mercy killing are still struggling to get acceptance.